Okay, welcome to the Clutch Kick. I'm one of your hosts, EG. I'm from Canberra. I think there was a few people that didn't know about that last week, so they were surprised when I turned up at Wakefield last weekend. So above me is my co-host, Greg Merriman from Sydney. And our special guest for today is Ben Meir from Newcastle. Is that where
you got it? Good
Okay.
evening. Hello, how are we?
Cool. So usually at the start of the show we go through some news. I believe Greg has the news covered today. I hope.
Yeah, relatively.
Okay.
So last week we had Michael from Battlist on the show, and it was supposed to be on the Wednesday. Was supposed to be the day Thursday after the show was supposed to be the launch of the Kickstarter pre-sales for the drift bit, and that got delayed through until yesterday. So the people who had signed up to sort of their subscription to be told ahead of time when the drift bit was going to be on sale came out yesterday, and about 15 minutes ago they just posted the link up on their main page on Facebook. They're already at over $8,000 with a goal of 80,000 with 22 backers. So if it's something that does interest you, jump on to either the Battlist Facebook page or have a look for them on Google. We'll also share the link on our page. But basically, if you go onto the Kickstarter, there's a whole bunch of information about the device, and then down the right-hand side of the page, there's your options for the different packs and all that sort of stuff that they're selling. So it'd be really cool if it is something you are interested in, look at pre-buying one. The saving will be, after speaking to Michael last week, will be fairly substantial by buying before it becomes an on-the-shelf product. You're also given the option, if you do pre-buy, there are some color options down the bottom, and you will be able to customize the colors on your drift bit, where once they're up and running in production, I think they'll all be the same color, so you'll miss out on that opportunity. So do have a look at that. So have a look at the Battlist site. News-wise, we had High Tech on the weekend. That's why we've got Ben on. We'll speak to him a little bit about that. EG was also down there causing trouble, as he always does. And I think this weekend coming up is, if I'm correct, round 2 of Rally is this weekend.
You got it.
And I think that's it. Last round of D1NZ. Thank you, Ben. Matty Hill's currently still sitting in the top 3, I think, at this stage. And so coming into last round, Pukekohe, I think Matt did okay there last year. I think he had an accident before qualifying, and it sort of put him a little bit on the back foot. But yeah, I feel like the D1NZ season has just flown by. It seems like it just came and went so quickly, and Matt's done pretty well. So hopefully he can stay on the podium over there at a minimum, if he can't take home the championship. Which, who knows? I think it's pretty open. I think depending on how cards sort of fall, it's potential for a few guys to win the championship. So an Aussie, did Prosnick end up on the podium this season?
I don't believe Prosnick's won the championship. Promotional video that I saw, if Matty wins, he'll be the first Australian to win the title.
But did Prosnick end up on the podium for? Did he end up on the podium for the season? I don't think he did he?
I know he did quite well.
Yeah, he did well that season. I just can't remember.
I'd have to look up the results.
So that'll be interesting to see how that's gone down. And I think that's pretty much it. And I think Drift West has a round on this weekend.
Is FD on this weekend as well?
Yeah, Road Atlanta's also this weekend. Yeah, some
That'll
big
be
events.
That's the first round of Pro 2 at FD
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, that is first round of Pro 2. Josh Robinson out there representing. At least Ben's on top of this. I'm way off this today. But yeah, I'd be interested to see how Josh goes, considering he was supposed to do Pro 1 season, had some sponsorship stuff fall through, and yeah, I guess it's going to be a big year with a lot of guys I know that stayed down in Pro 2 with Pro 1 licenses because of just trying to still find their feet and do all that before stepping up to Pro 1. And I think the championship for pros pretty tight. So I think every round at this point, basically you've got to be finishing in the top 3 or 4 to really stand a chance. So hopefully EG will watch Formula D this weekend because it is a more traditional drift track style. It'll be less Americanized for him. So we'll see what he thinks of this one.
When it's on Saturday our time, isn't it? It's like a Friday, Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I think. Yeah. So it'll be Saturday, Sunday our time. It's Friday, Saturday over there. I think from what I saw, around 8 o'clock Eastern time for us. In the morning on Saturday it starts.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly the order. Normally qualifying for Pro 2 is done on the Thursday, so I would imagine that on Saturday it'll be Pro 1 qualifying early in the day and then roll into Pro 2 battles after that, and then
I've seen
Sunday
some
will
posts
be
about that.
Yeah, it will be Pro 1 battles only.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
I've got a bit of car work to do, so.
yeah, mate, just take your laptop out with the live stream going. I've got to finish.
Maybe. I've got an
Finish
S14
my.
to put together to take to Motorcar on Sunday.
Oh, you don't want to take. You don't want to put mine together for me?
No.
I've decided I officially hate vinyl wrapping. It is the spawn of the devil.
You've got the good stuff though, don't you?
No, good stuff. I think for 20 meters I paid $250 on eBay.
Quality.
Yeah, sounds like quality stuff.
Yeah, it's like,
Did you get
it's
car
not
vinyl?
book
Did you get
contact.
signed vinyl or car vinyl?
No, it's car vinyl as far as I'm
so it'd be
aware, but
easy.
it's not book contact like you guys run.
I know. So what are you complaining about?
Yeah, but you did it in like little 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter sheets, and you didn't care where you put it.
Yeah, we tried to make it so there's nothing showing underneath. That's all. So it's all one color.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I think Connor just volunteered to come up to Sydney to help me out put it on. So thanks, Connor. You are the best.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see once we get the drift bit, because a few of us down here have bought or pre-ordered or put money towards getting some units as well. So I think it'd be good to, because I think you've got one ordered as well, Greg. And
yeah, I've got one ordered.
So it'd be interesting to compare, or to get people to compare their sort of experiences at Wakefield.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sadly, I don't think we'll have them by the time we get to Wakefield. But I think
I'm sure
rollout
there's
time
other
is
Wakefield days.
Yeah, I think they're looking for a rollout around November. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be good to get a few of us on the same track comparing. But I just got to decide on color. Do you get a red one that goes fast, or do you get a pink one that gets all the girls? We'll wait and see on that one. All right, so I guess we should dive into this episode. So we've got Ben on. We're going to talk a little bit about the high-tech first round and this season a little bit. But first, we'll start with just getting a little bit of background on Ben and sort of where he started in the sport, where he came from before the sport, and where he sort of wants to take it as time goes on. And then, we'll dive into the weekend's event and EG, doing his troublemaking down at Wakefield Park. It really feels like everybody's gone and everybody's invaded his little home track and he's upset.
Oh, I'm not upset. Oh, actually, no, I was. There's more disappointment, upset, I guess.
All right. So, Ben, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you've been driving? What you did before you came into the sport and decided that burning money was going to be your form of entertainment in life?
It's an excellent example. So pre-drifting, I raced BMX for 15 years. Started when I was 7. I feel I can say I retired from that. I did okay when I was racing bikes. I represented Australia a couple of times, in the US twice, England and New Zealand. Had a heap of fun. 15 years is a long time. It taught me a lot. I've got some amazing friends that I met from that, and some of my friends towards the tail end of my BMX career were actually doing this thing called drifting. So my introduction to that was sort of twofold. My really good mate of mine had an early model Supra with a 1J, and he was going to this track called Eastern Creek one night. So I tagged along, and I remember I was walking underneath the tunnel underneath there at figure 8, and I just heard these 2 cars absolutely going for it like nothing else, and a big turbo things. I'm like, this is incredible. I love this already. And it was Tom Bobin and another fellow all plastered up with Drift Mob over their car at the time, and watched them smashing around there. I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to be doing. So I sort of focused everything from then towards saving up to buying a car, and then pulled away from bikes and pushed into cars, and here we are now.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I guess seeing Tom drive probably wasn't the best inspiration to get into drifting. I can guarantee Tom will not be watching this. The poor dude is so flat out with work, and his car is beat to crap because he let Mickey drive it on the wet pan, and it looked a little bit worse for wear after that. So, Tom, if you do manage to see this, I love you long time.
if you saw Tom driving, that means you got into drifting not too long ago, especially with the Drift Mob stickers. So probably 7 years ago or something.
Yeah, it was about 6 or 7 years ago. So it was actually 3 years ago this weekend that I debuted my S14 at Wakefield. So I had my 180SX for about, I think, 2.5, 3 years before that.
Okay.
So yeah, we're sitting pretty close to 7 years. I definitely didn't compete straight away. At the time when I started, there was no drift schools really going in Sydney. It was sort of a quiet time between, I think, the old Project D drift school, which was Fernando, and the current setup, which is High Tech Drift School and D Drift School Australia. So I was sort of self-taught. All I knew is that I wanted to do it, and it really interested me. So I sort of self-taught for a lot of it. I did have quite a lot of help from sort of 2 guys in particular, which is Sean Gilbert and Blake Patterson, which I've only met through drifting. 2 guys that were really able to connect with and could communicate quite well to me what I was doing wrong and how to make it better. And that's sort of where I started. Was at Eastern Creek on the wet pan with either driving sports or Drift Mob, just any sort of wet pan day I could do. And I think I did 2 of them, and it was like, right, time to try this peanut track thing. Probably the most intimidating thing I'd ever tried. I was like, dry tar, this is scary. I'm going to be in second gear going really fast. So haven't we come a long way from that?
I was going to say, after your experience at World Time Attack last year, I would imagine that you realised how insignificant that actually was compared to where within the 7 years that drifting was actually going to take you.
Yeah, I never really had, even when I started, I didn't get to drift Oran Park. I'll just throw that fun fact in there. Like, every single person I know that has drifted Oran Park said it was the best track ever. Unfortunately, I missed that boat. It was shut around the same time I started. So
did you ever watch drifting out there?
No, I didn't. I've never been to Wakefield for anything. I didn't really grow up in motorsport. I grew up racing bikes, push bikes, that is, and that was it. That was all I did through primary school and high school and a little bit after. It was just bikes, and then I sort of changed over to cars, and now it's just cars, flat out.
Yeah. So for a long time, I always associated you with people like Blake and Sean, and I thought you guys actually started around the same time and grew together. But then it was just recently that I found out that you joined separately to sort of
I'm quite a late addition to the family. Yeah, so Blake's and Sean both learnt on the streets. and they're also a couple of years older than me. I'm the younger one. I'm just turned 28, so I missed out on all the fun, Mexico/Ebershu based fun. That's okay, but that's where those guys really learn a lot of their craft, and I didn't. I just went to the track and dug in there, and that's where I learned.
Okay. How do you find the transition from BMXing to drifting? Like, because you had that gap with building up your skills, but then when it came down to competitions, did you take anything from your BMX career to drifting career?
Quite a lot of it does transfer, I guess. So, because obviously they're both individual sports, I'm used to being an individual when it comes to competition. I guess there's a lot more people who used to race bikes, so competition was also a lot thicker. I remember I raced in the US. I was racing like 100+ people. You come back here and we get a top 16 or a top 32, so that's a lot different. So yeah, a lot of personality traits change over. You still need to have things like hunger and aggression and passion and stuff like that. All of those carried with me quite well. Obviously, the gym work slacked off a little bit in the training, but that's okay. That's part of it.
God, I know the feeling.
But you do see quite a lot of BMX riders and motocross riders do make quite a successful switch to motorsport. Brian Deegan, freestyle motocross, now races rally cars. Mad Mike Wadet was a freestyle motocrosser, transferred to drifting. Luke Fink, whether a lot of people know or not, he was at the time, one of the best BMX freestyle riders in the world. He was just incredible. He would show up to a competition and just, whether he trained all week or done nothing all week, which from what I heard was generally he did minimal all week, he'd just show up and he'd still win.
Yeah. It's really annoying how talented he is.
Yeah, he has a lot of talent, and there's quite a few guys from BMX that have transferred over quite well, and it's pretty cool to see that. Like Greg, I think Greg's really broken the mold. He's come from ice dancing and he now races cars. In no parallel universe does that work. So well done, Greg.
Yeah, I guess for me though, I'd been into drifting a lot longer than you had been before actually getting into the driving. So I think I found the drifting when I was still in high school, where you found it a little bit later than I had. I needed a break from all the estrogen in my sport, where I think you had enough testosterone at your sport to keep you going in it, where I was a little bit more like, oh shit, I need an escape from this crap.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So you had the 180. You started competing as a rally?
No, my first competition was the original Figure 8 Drift Series, which was started by Andrew Hawkins. Missed the first round, applied, asked to go to the second round, got picked, didn't qualify. I sucked. Third round, came back, qualified 14th, I think. 14th or 15th. First battle ever was Michael Prosnick. It was awesome. I remember,
learning experience.
Yeah, Prosnick had to come wandering down the pits, and he's like, "Who's this Ben Meir kid?" Introduced ourselves, went out and had a battle, and I was just happy to stick 2 laps together without missiling him or spinning off the track. So that was pretty fun. But looking back on it, with competing, I didn't start drifting to compete. I started drifting because I wanted to drift, and then sort of built up and made that transition to, hey, let's give competition a go. And I guess that bit comes from the bikes a bit as well. I spent 15 years, a long time racing, so maybe it was inevitable. I ended up competing again in drifting.
Yeah, what was it? Like, what did you feel was your turnaround point where you sort of went, you know what, and what was your motivator when you came to that moment of like, you know what, I do want to enter a comp, and I just want to see, how I go?
I don't really remember. I don't think I had this burning moment. It's like, I must compete at once. I didn't. A lot of the early high techs and figure 8s, I think Blake was still in his old Saw, I think it was at the time. He did 1 or 2. You know, like, and I'd only just met these guys. I hadn't known them very long, so we weren't really good mates. So it wasn't like we were doing like a mad 10-car convoy from Newcastle to go and compete. It was sort of just sort of eased my way into it to see if I liked it. And yeah, I liked it. So I kept at it.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So going from the figure eight, I think your next comp was Wakefield with stadium drifts. That's my memory.
Yes,
of
it
you.
was.
Yeah. How did you find the speed difference? Was it easy to adjust to, even though it's just a short track?
So my technique when I first started at Wakefield was pretty bad. At the time, the technique seemed to be go flat out, turn the steering wheel and jab the handbrake, and that was how you unsettled the car. And I tried that, and, you know, I couldn't get it right. You know, I'd end up backwards off the track at 100 mile an hour, and I just couldn't control the car. And that was sort of when Blake and Sean pulled me up and said, listen, mate, you're going to do this thing called a clutch kick into the first corner. I'm like, you guys are nuts, you know. And it went back when the Wakefield Match Series were on. You know, we had 2.5 days of just flat out drifting, and that's when I really started to craft who I was as a driver, of just doing lap after lap after lap after lap there, both on the short track and the long track, and it really got to hone in on my style and the way that I wanted to drive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what do you think your style is then compared to other people?
Look, I'm not the most flamboyant guy out there. A lot of feedback, especially like I got some from the high tech judges on the weekend. I'm quite predictable. Yatesy said after our top 8 as well, you know, like I'm an easy driver to chase because I'm predictable. So predictability probably isn't the best in a qualifying situation. You know,
it is. It's definitely 100%. Like, if, I guess one example would be if you jump in a car that the driver is really high skilled and completely talented, and you see them, their driving technique, even they're going like 1,000,000 miles an hour, you know, like looking at this guy, he's got it. Like he'll put it where he has to. He won't go off the track, and it's predictable in that sort of sense. But I remember
sure.
watching you in that battle, and that was probably the best 2 runs you did the whole weekend, and I was really impressed because they were really awesome runs. And I couldn't, looking at it as a spectator, I wouldn't be able to probably pick who would have won that battle, except the fact that Bo got away. And to me, Bo's car was just at a different level to your car. So it goes so much quicker. But yeah, your driving was that 2 runs were excellent.
Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that because I know how hard you went on me in qualifying and in practice. You know, you leaned into the door saying, "Come on, mate, faster." And you know, like I struggled a lot with pressure, every time when I was racing bikes and early on in drifting. I mean, I'm not above pressure, no one is, but it's not getting to me as much anymore. You know, like you sit me up against Yatesy, I know he's going to go flat out. I know he's going to be good, and it doesn't. You know, I don't turn into a blubbering mess that forgets how to drive a car. I still feel I can really put a good lap together, and I was stoked that I could put a good lap together for him and myself, and the show he could put on for the crowd, which was really good. So reflecting on Wakefield a bit, you know, like it was good. Like I finished 7th, I think, overall. I qualified well. The car went on the trailer in one piece. You know, the feedback I get from Dad, and he's one of my harshest critics, you know, he said it was really good, but I still think there was a bit more available for me there.
Oh, yeah, especially qualifying.
Yeah. I still, Mr. Plow.
Yeah.
Well, the funniest part with that is we have a little group chat going, and we get sent a picture from EG of you on the start line about to go, and I've got the live stream already opened. And then next minute, you'll come flying down the front straight, and the car just hasn't come back the way you wanted it to. And there's smoke just pouring off all 4 wheels. And then there's a message almost seconds later from EG being like, "Whoops, I've pushed him too hard." And you're just like, "Oh, Jesus."
Yeah. Because I walked up to
if you don't push it hard, how do you know where the limit is?
Oh, I
Well,
could hear
and-
your
and-
limit because you lifted on the first run. Because I heard you come down, you're like barreling down, and then you got to like, I was like, all right, cool, he's gonna do cool entry, and then he sort of lifted, and I heard him, he slowed down a little bit, and then you went again. I'm like, nah, you could just go flat out all the way through.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
You need to come to a Wakefield day with EG and the red stage boys, because basically if you don't select the next gear when there's space to grab another gear, then they're going to run into the back of you.
That's okay. I don't mind.
I don't want to hit your car.
Well, you did. So.
Oh, I want to hit your car, yeah, because you said it was okay.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. Ben's got a plastic rear bumper. He'll be all right. Oh, not anymore.
No.
He's got a
car's too
glass
pretty.
now. Nah.
Ben's car's too pretty.
So have any of you two driven Wakefield on semis before?
Yes, kind of.
No.
Oops.
Yes, kind of, and no.
Hang
Where
on,
did you
sorry.
steal them from?
Hang on.
What have you done, mate?
happened with Skype. Hang on a sec. Take a snapshot and share to chat. I have no idea, but there you go. It's back again. Okay, sorry. They were old semis, so they don't really count. So they're RSRs. Oh,
The
actually,
difference that I felt
Go on. Sorry.
the difference that I felt in the car between like used to be driving on radials at Stadium Drift to high tech on semis, that was just ridiculous. You know, like the car didn't even felt like a completely different car, and how it handled and how it weight shifted and moved around and as well the speed. You know, that was really something different. So I'm definitely keen to go back to Revolution Day or something like that and just run radials all day and really throw the car around a bit more, because I definitely didn't feel I was really throwing it and getting the outcome that I wanted to with semis on. So it's still a bit of work on my end with the setup, but that was something I took out of the weekend.
Yeah,
I find
definitely
that,
see.
I find that interesting. Yeah, I find it interesting that you say that, considering you've driven a few different places. It's not like you've just been restricted to figure eight on semis. You've done a few events at different places on semis. So what do you think was, when you went to QR and places like that, did it feel similar to what it did at Wakefield, or has something changed between that?
So as an example for QR, I've definitely grown a lot as a driver since then. That was my first ADGP event, and result was average. I finished, which was good. But like, I've grown a lot as a driver, and I'd be keen to go back to somewhere like QR and on semis again and give it another try, because I feel I've grown a lot more. What was that? That was almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, just feel a few suspension changes on mine would have helped me just move the car in a bit more, which is what I'm working on now. Just that higher speed stuff with semi slicks, you don't get to practice that often. I want to, but it's not. My budget doesn't really extend to get 20 semis and go to a track for practice and go and blow them off, which is, in a perfect world, it'd be great if I could, but hey, my budget doesn't quite extend that far at the moment. That's okay.
Yeah, no.
Do you feel like, did you go, EG?
No, it's all right. You can talk. I know
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't get your quota
No,
of
no,
talking
go.
for the day, then you'll get annoyed.
No, I
You
can't.
can go.
Your screen currently for me is still the screen that was stuck on near the beginning of the chat, so I can't even see your mouth when it's about to move.
All right. There you go.
Let me get my quota of talking in. This guy. Do you feel like the car struggled for wheel speed compared to some of the guys with sequentials and all sorts of fancy gear?
Look, I always think that wheel speed and track speed can be overcome a lot by aggression. Yatesy sort of left me for dead a bit on my chase. Was that the car? Not entirely. It was quite a bit of me as well. I just had a bit of a brain fart off the start line and forgot how the chicane worked, which, hey, these things happen. But it's more the way the car moves around sideways and the way it was switching. I wasn't quite convinced that it was. I thought it could have been better. Dad and I chased suspension setup and tyre pressures quite a bit between Friday night and Saturday morning, and that's I really sort of got it right for qualifying. And then we still were playing around with it during the day, and it got a lot better. But it's when you're trying to pump tyres up to induce the car to slide a bit against high-powered cars. It's always going, you're a little bit behind the eight ball there. You can't take grip away and expect to still be as fast. So that was sort of what I was playing with a little bit. That's okay. That's what I had on that day. I got a pretty good idea of how we can improve on that going in the next round, and hopefully I can just stay in there a bit more.
So you are putting a turbocharger on before the next round then?
No, I will be in Europe for 5 weeks relaxing myself.
Okay. So yeah, no. When I was watching you, I did really notice that you weren't getting that much turn in. So I could see the front wheels move, but it wouldn't actually bite. It would just sort of plow in, and then I consistently saw that during the day. So that's why I sort of messaging you and asking you a couple of different questions about him, the brake setup you have, and if you knew your alignment and things like that during the week.
Yeah, I think also the fact I was running 265 semis might have a bit to do with that, because I was, compared to when I run 235 radials, that's the difference we're seeing. You're seeing the car, flick and understeer or flick and snowplow down the front straight. If I put radials on, I wouldn't have that, because the back had just, come around and away we go. So that's sort of want to work on for next round.
Did you just bring one selection of tyres and not like sort of a mix of different things?
No, I've just brought all the same stuff. I don't usually try and change many things going into a competition, so I'll make changes now and then go run a practice day, whether it's DSA car park, figure 8, something, and then test those changes out rather than try it on competition day, because you generally, competition days are pretty rushed and you're there to try and get a result, so it's not sort of the best platform to try and test.
Okay, so how often do you get practice, and where would you get that? It's not you do street lamp inspections, or is that something that you avoid doing?
No, so there's nothing that resembles any sort of motorsport establishment in Newcastle. So for me, it's figure 8 in Sydney, Drift School Australia, or Rally, sort of thing or Wakefield for a test. So it's a bit of travel, but that's the way I'm practicing, sort of thing.
Okay, so how often do you do that?
Look, I try to drive. A couple of years ago, I was in the 180. I drove in the January, and then I didn't drive again till May, I think it was, and I sucked. Like, I got in the car and I was horrendous. And after that, really reflected, and if I want to really have a go at getting better at this drifting thing, I got to drive more. So the next weekend, I did a two-day drive at Rally with the 86 Driving Club. This was when Sean still had his, for those that remember, he had it was a turboed 4A in a yellow K70. And we've spent 2 days up there, and 2 days of seat time of just doing laps around Rally. You get a bit better. And then after that, I always try to drive, every month to 6 weeks. And I've always been the type of, even when I was riding, that improves by practice.
Yeah.
Some guys can show up at the track and not ride for 6 months and just blow me away, yet I've got to do lap after lap after lap after lap, which is fine. That's just the type of person I am. So that's just why I try to go to practice days and try these things, because if you don't, you show up at a competition and you're going to get disappointed real fast.
Yeah, so you're kind of like me, but see, I have to do lots of practice because I don't have any talent, so it's just all experience and I practice a lot. Well, I try to anyway, but I think I practice more than anyone else, and that's the only way I can sort of feel like I keep up with people. Is that
I'm the same, mate. I genuinely enjoy driving. It's not like, I want to get in the car and turn laps, and there's never really such thing as a bad practice day. Like, if you go to a practice day and the car falls apart, well, better do it there at a practice day than I go to a competition and I pay a lot of money and then it falls apart. So I've had quite a few test days like that where you've gone to the track and everything's gone wrong.
Yeah.
You spend more time under the car fixing it, but then you tidy up what you got to tidy up, and you go to your next competition and you put in a good result because the car's all good, which is that's the nature of the sport, really.
So yeah. Well, yeah, that actually is a good point, because Would also, yeah, I wanted to ask. You used to have a 180, which wasn't too bad. It was not basic, but it was a good platform. And then you moved from that to the S14. So why was the reason that you moved that to the S14, and what sort of things did you do to the S14, or did you want to do, and then you achieved with the S14?
So when we originally started, I didn't need a new car. Like, I wasn't under some illusion that I needed, this gazillion horsepower to win. I just wanted to I wanted to build a car. It was that simple. That's the only reason why I started. And I found a written off Commodore, and then I found a shell and stripped it all down and built it at house in Newcastle with myself, my dad, and I had a couple of mates that helped out quite a lot, which was incredible. It's really just that. I just wanted to build a car, and I didn't know that much about setting up a car when I started. I knew, because I'm a fitter machinist by trade, so I know a little bit about mechanical things. I knew some things that didn't work in the 180 and that I didn't like, so I tried something different in the S14. Most of those things that I tried, they're still on it. They're still part of that package today. I haven't had to change them.
Okay. Why? There's been a lot of questions about the big, massive bulge at the front of your engine, because there's been the front of the car because of the engine. So why?
Yes.
While other cars with LSs in them are able to sort of retain the factory sort of look, so why is that?
Yep. So I have a Holly high ram intake manifold, which so previous to that manifold, I had 420 horsepower, and after that manifold and a new tune, we went to 500 horsepower, with another increase in torque that was quite substantial. Okay. So it's just we built quite a strong engine package, but I had a standard intake manifold on it. Yep. So I could only go so hard with it, and sort of looked into it, and individual throttle bodies were a little bit out of my price range, so I went with the high rise. So as a result of that, get the angle grinder out and chop the bonnet to pieces to fit everything in.
Yeah, I noticed you have to put a cover on the air filter every time you want to store it and move around with it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Well, the air filter was just a different option to basically be sucking air totally away from the engine, right? Because you could have put a normal pod filter or something, like a K&N filter, a long nose filter or something on it, but you chose to do the panel filter to get it away from all that rubbish, right?
Yeah, so just the bigger surface area allows more air to be drawn into the intake manifold. When we originally tuned the car, we just banged a pod filter straight on the front because it had no bonnet on, because I hadn't cut it out yet. So I wasn't a fan of just a single pod hanging out the front. I thought it looked pretty gay, so I wanted to try something different. So we come up with a filter shape and just sort of knock the box up out of that sort of thing, and it looks like a big shovel.
It does look quite unique.
Yeah, and
look.
The fact that figure eight just saying, yeah, and the fact that figure eight, which was at the time that the car was sort of done with the comp happening there, spanks intake temperatures for everybody, I think. So the fact that you've got this setup that's completely away from engine bay heat, I probably need to shove one of them on my car so I actually get some cold air in through the bloody motor.
So the guy that tunes my car, his name's Shane Brandon. He's a small one-person shop called 311 Motorsport in Newcastle. I met Shane about 2 years ago now when I was going through quite a few issues with my car. And Shane's ex-BMW Motorsport. He used to work for the touring car team. And his knowledge and wisdom as well that I've learnt from him in regards to racecraft, I think I'd call it. Everything to do with the race car has been pivotal to sort of where I am today, and stuff like putting the air filter out of the way of the engine to get it away from heat and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff that I've learned from him, that because I don't come from a race car background, I know how to put stuff together, but stuff like that, he's really helped me to be able to present a better package that works really well.
Even if people do think it looks like shit, it works, and I think that's what's more important than even the look of it.
Look, I'm not the most creative person. I guess it works. I'm happy that it works. I think it functions quite well. Look, there's some guys out there that could probably make that look like a work of art, but that's not me. So that's okay.
I don't think it's something that anybody needs to spend money on. So I guess last year you achieved a bit of a dream by being selected to drive at World Time Attack Challenge. I don't know I think we were speaking a little bit leading into it, and you weren't sure if you would get the nod to compete in that, but getting that opportunity and then sort of getting the battles and everything that you managed to get, what sort of eye opener was that for you, and did it change what you wanted to achieve in the sport after competing in that event?
Look, Time Attack, that was a pretty good one because, like, in 2016, I applied for it and got knocked back. And reflecting on that, pretty deserved. I didn't have the best year, but leading into 2007, buttoned up a lot of the liability issues and were able to put some reasonable results together. And Time Attack was a lot of fun. It was a pretty bad week leading up to it. I blew a gearbox 2 weeks before, and I had tonsillitis, so putting a gearbox back in with tonsillitis on the Wednesday before Time Attack wasn't ideal, but hey, I had a lot of fun. I'd never driven North Circuit in my S14. I think I got 4 laps, and 4 of them were awful. Made some suspension changes again and stuck to qualifying laps, and hey, next minute I'm against Daigo Sato, so that was pretty cool. I got a lot of respect for Daigo for what he's done for himself and for the sport. I do believe he's one of the best chase drivers in the world. That's my opinion. Yeah, he's a bit loose and a bit rowdy, but hey, that's the sport we're in. Yeah, it was pretty cool to be able to take into a rerun. I remember they gave me the wave to go rerun. You know, my jaw hit the bottom of my helmet. I couldn't believe it. I called Sean on I called Sean on the radio. I was like, I've just taken Daigo Sato to a rerun. Like, I couldn't believe it.
That's his FD championship winning car too.
Yeah. No, he was only on 800 horsepower, but it was really nice of him.
So, what were some of the things that you had to tighten up to make the last World Time Attack compared to the year before?
I was struggling to finish events the year before. I think we chased misfire issues in the car for like 6 or 7 months. I remember I drove all the way to Stanthorpe on the final round for stadium drift the last time it ran. I split a spark plug, you know, and I couldn't find it until I got home, and just silly teething issues, I guess, from building a new car that took a bit longer than I thought, and that impacted. I never blame the car. Like, when I get knocked out is where I got knocked out. But if I present a car to a competition that's not up to standard and it fails and I can't produce the result, it's not the car's fault. Collectively, it's really my fault. And we had to fix quite a lot of those issues up, and that incorporated with the new Adaptronic computer, the new manifold, and then coupled with a new tune. That once we got those issues all buttoned up, I could really start to practice my driving and improve more, because I was getting solid seat time without having to spend all the time under the car fixing it.
So you spent some resources on fixing the car so you could actually finish and complete events, I guess, and then
correct.
Get results. And was there anything else that was required for that to fill the requirement for World Time Attack?
So car presentations obviously quite important for Time Attack. They do ask for things like your social media platforms. They want to see what you're up to and how you're promoting the sport. And look, I think Time Attack's excellent. People can say what they want about it. What Ian has done with that sport, with that event, from where he's come from to where he was today, I take my hat off to him. He's done an outstanding job. He gets so many people through the gate. He gets awesome drivers there, both grip drivers and drift drivers. And it was a pleasure to be able to drive there. I had a lot of fun. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Is that something that you're looking to do this year as well?
Look, we'll see how we go. I'm going on a holiday this year, so it's impacted the money that I'm spending a little bit on drifting. But I've competed twice this year, and and had I think reasonable results, which I think will help. So stuff like that is definitely what gets looked at when application time comes around. I can't put my hand up for an event if you don't have results, but that's how it is.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think one of the big things that we've been, we as in my group of friends have been making fun of you as a pro drifter. But it's all in jest. Like, I probably need to cover it because I think sometimes it's getting a bit out of hand. But it's good. Like,
it's
I think
funny.
you
we spoke about it today. Me and Ben in preparation for this potential question. So let it loose.
Well, it's not a question, but it's that question will come afterwards. But I just wanted to say that as part of World Time Attack and that sort of thing, you need to actually create a page to promote yourself. So then the organisers would select you. So that's why you did that. But then you'd also get some sort of comments about it, like whether it be positive or negative, or well, for us it was just a joke. Really, it's funny because you actually, out of everyone that we sort of make fun of, you actually took it the best, and you didn't sort of take it. You took it really well, and it's been fun doing it. And I know every time I see you, I just point at you and say, "Oh, look, it's Ben Meir Pro Drifter," and then you always have a smile back, and then shake my hand, and then go along with it. So it's cool,
mate. I've been getting picked on my whole life. I don't mind.
So
what's the question?
That's not a question. I'm just saying. Though, it's good. Like I think it's good. Like your attitude is good because you can actually take criticism and feedback, whereas other people, if you sort of say stuff to them, they sort of get all sort of, how would you say it? They'd get put off, and then they change their attitude towards you, or like they'd sort of express themselves differently. So I'm just saying, no, it's good. Like I really enjoy it. Like I like that. I think it's good. Like your attitude is good with your response. But the only thing is, that's what.
What's your point? It's like you're like worried that Ben one day is gonna wake up, like you're gonna wake up and there's gonna be Ben standing over your bed, gonna stand over your bed with a knife or something.
No.
Call me Pro Drifter one more time, I'm gonna shank ya.
No, he won't. He won't do that. That's what I'm saying. I believe he won't do that. It's like, what I'm saying is, you're good for the sport, whereas other people that call themselves pro, I don't really like. But
look, I don't remotely call myself a professional driver. What I think, the way I like to communicate it, I try to, for myself and what I believe in, I try to uphold a bit of professionalism. And it's myself in the car, it's myself out the car, it's myself on social media. All of that package combined is, because I don't want to go to racetracks and be disliked by my peers, because I hate that. Like, no one likes that. And I think, like the pro drifter tag can sometimes come from, and there's guys out there that still have full-time jobs, and like that they are the most professional guys that I know in the sport. Like Yate's still got a full-time job, yet I believe he's one of the most professional guys in Australian drifting at this current moment. It's just more of the way I like to handle myself and my car and present that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I guess people also don't necessarily, who haven't come from a high level sporting background like yourself or like myself, where you've done it from a young age, and I've come from a judge sport, and you've come from a sport where first across the line wins. But for your sport, invitationals, things like that start to happen, and there's a lot of politics that still happen in the background of those sports. And if you're wanting to be selected for big competitions and things like that, people have got to like you. And I think when you sort of start to do that from such a young age, it's sort of built into you to not, put together a good front, not look like a dickhead, not get yourself banned from events. I feel like some of the actions of some of the drivers that happen at events in other sports, those guys would be told never to come back again. Like,
Mate,
there's been some really...
I used to race with guys, and they got banned from the sport from, snotting other guys after the race. And, like, if I did that, mate, my old man would flog me senseless, like the way I got brought up to respect the officials and their decisions, mate, that's just how it is. And I did struggle with that transition into drifting quite a bit because it was now a judge sport. I was first past the post gets a trophy. But win, lose or draw, no matter what the judge's decision is, I'll always respect it. I may not like it. I may still even go and talk to them about it, but I'll never ever whinge about it on social media, and I'll never publicly bag them out about it. I'll just respect it and get on with it. And, I've had some calls go against me, and I've had some go my way. That's just the sport we are. And each competition's different. In the East Coast, in New South Wales, apart from Super Drift, I've driven in every single competition. I've driven rally, I've driven the stadium drift, I've driven ADGP. What else? On stadium drift, when it was primarily Queensland based, I drove up there too. Apart from Vic Drift, I think I've been a part of every single series in New South Wales in the last 4 years, one way or another. So I don't politically align myself, if that's the right word, align myself with any competition. I'm more of an equal opportunities driver. I don't care who it is or who's putting it on. I'll go drive for them.
Yeah, and even Super Drift, I think you came out and spectated a few rounds, and where you could, you sort of came over and helped with the officials and stuff where you could. So, yeah, it just shows you that there's so much more to the sport than the bullshit that sort of starts to rear its ugly head so often. Joy's commenting about your little trip to Japan where you spent some time with those guys over in
Yeah, so I definitely have to big shout out to the Kerr Sunday boys. I remember I landed in Haddana Airport, and the boys I was travelling with missed their flight and wandered into baggage pickup, and here's all these boys from Wollongong. I'm like, hey guys, because I knew Lachlan Wilkinson, I knew who he was. I didn't know any of the other boys, so they really helped me out at that time. We jumped in, we drove up to Ebisu, and I met up with EG, and mate, I'd still be at the airport without those guys. So
I remember you guys
forever thankful for that.
It looked like a clown car with all the people and luggage that came out of that car.
Yeah, I think I slept like in the back of the car with my suitcase on my knees. So
yeah.
Look, it was an experience. Japan will always be one of the most amazing places I've ever driven. I've never been so scared and so thrilled to drive a track in my life, which would be Minami, which is the scariest track I've ever driven. Japan not only taught me a lot about how to drive, it also taught me a lot about how the Japanese like to judge. So I'll relate that to the very first DCA EG. Was at Rally? Was that downhill flick?
Yeah.
At Rally, I had absolutely no idea how that was judged. At that time, I was like, "What is this madness? Where are the clip points? Where's the three corners?" I had no idea what was going on. But my first trip to Japan went to it's called SSP. I'm not sure what it stands for. It was a racetrack not that far from Ebisu.
Yeah.
And they were filming a Drift Team Goku episode.
I was there with you.
Yeah, you were. And yeah, that's right. And Power Vehicles guys were driving. There was a heap of other guys. And they were judging on that flick into the first corner. And there was other clipping points. I'm like, yeah, that don't count. And when I saw stuff like that, as well as being judged by Suonega and Kumakubo on Nishi long last time I was there, it really helped me understand a lot more their style of judging, which I really like, which is really cool. I also took a lot from that.
Yeah, cool.
Had you watched much drifting? So before you came into drifting, you hadn't really seen it. And then once you were into the drifting, were you following much in the way of drifting from around the world or not really?
Yeah, so definitely like probably since the S14, I really started, that's 3 years ago. So yeah, FD, IDC, stuff like that. I try to, I when I can't drive at Super Drift, I come down. I just like being there, I like being in the pits. I like helping out. however long I stay in the sport, I don't know. But I think when I'm done, I'd still like to be in some sort of management or promotional role moving forward. I still think there's good work I can do there. I really enjoy it.
Connor just said we should have an episode where Ben and I just totally butcher Japanese words.
Yeah,
I think we're way too white for it.
I actually sound like an Italian mobster when I try and speak Japanese. It's horrendous.
It's funny though, because if you actually speak, say, Japanese words properly, then the white people can't understand what you say. So you have to say words like Matsuri.
And Mitch Sanders is asking, have you watched Initial D?
So fun fact, no, I haven't.
Oh.
But another fun fact, I've actually driven all the roads in Japan from Initial D. So yeah, we hired a 32 GDR and a Honda 2000 and went and shredded the mountains. Is it Mount Huna, EG?
Haruna.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, see, terrible. Bunch of Japanese. So yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not even saying it right, because if I say it right, then people won't understand.
Yeah, so I just bypass that whole watching business and just jump straight into driving it.
Oh, I don't know if
maybe that's what I need to do.
Counts or not? Maybe.
No, probably not.
This is why. Have you actually made a podium finish?
Yes. So I got third in the Stadium Drift Australia Pro Tour in 2016.
Okay. So I'm going to say you could have got first if you watch Initial D.
Okay. Excellent. Yes. Not spill. Yeah.
Hey, in saying that though, what you should do for the trip to Europe, considering some of the crap on the plane can be really painful, is just rip all the episodes of Initial D off YouTube and watch them on the plane.
It's called Valium, Greg.
Yeah, I guess knock yourself out and go.
Yeah, just knock yourself out, mate.
Do you want that first place or not, Ben?
Of course I do.
Well, then watch Initial D.
Homework has been set.
You know that you've created a devil here now, so he's going to give you more of a hard time than even he gives me. No, he'll still give me more of a hard time, but he's going to be on your back about that.
Have you finished Initial D yet, Greg?
No, I have not. I have not. I am still sitting wherever the hell I was sitting last week.
Your car broke down last week all day. You just haven't finished it.
Let's not even talk about it.
Finish the series and see our cars are running it the rest of the day, the whole day. So.
Look, I've got to sit there and get my mum to read the subtitles to me, okay? It takes me a while to get through an episode.
Okay.
So, moving forward with the drifting, Blake Patterson's clearly wanted to comment because he's messaging me how does he comment. So let's wait and see what comes from him. Moving forward with the drifting, I don't even know what he's talking about. EG, you're gonna have to open that one. Moving forward with the drifting, where do you see yourself? What's your long-term goals and plans with it? Yeah.
I'm I'm still loving it as much as the day that I started. I'd drive every weekend if I could. I'd feel I'd like to see if I can work on a bit more support for myself so I can afford to drive a bit more. I'm still learning, I'm probably a bit of a slow learner compared to there's some other guys that haven't been drifting as long as me that shred me, but hey, that's okay. But keep developing myself, keep developing the car, and keep pushing for a better finish. I remember when I started, I'd meet Yatesy in the top 16 and he'd smash me 9-1. Fast forward 4 years, we're now meeting in a top 8 and he's beating me 6-4. So solid improvements there, but I still feel I've got a lot more left in me. So I'm just going to keep chipping away at it and see where I land.
But yeah, plan is just keep driving locally and just enjoy it for what it is, really.
Yeah, so I don't have a car in Japan anymore. I sold that, so it'll just be sort of focus on Australia and see how I go with that. There's still quite a few different series on offer, which I like. So there's quite a few different options there for driving, which is fantastic. If we only had one competition, it'd be a really whole different ball game. But there's quite a few options there, which is great. So keep pushing towards that. I'd love to do some Vic Drift rounds at some stage. Vic Drift has an amazing following down there. They always get a top 32 and some awesome drivers drive down there. So it'd be really cool to have a drive in Vic Drift one day.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same with that one. Vic Drift is somewhere I'd like to go down and do some of the more odd layouts that you can't do at one of their standard Drift X or something like that. I'd like to get down there for an event like that, but it'd be also cool to get down there and be able to do one of those backwards tracks or do something, one of those more creative ones that you couldn't just go down and do on any odd occasion.
Yeah.
Did you do Quarter Park with us last year for DCA? You were down there, right?
No, I didn't. I did the ADGP State of Origin in 2016.
Yeah.
Geez, that was a while ago now. That was heaps of fun. That was the first teams event I'd ever sort of driven in Australia. That was awesome. That's an awesome concept. We should do more of that.
And you guys took home the win for that one, so that was...
Yeah, look, obviously that's part of it as well, but yeah, we had a really good day.
Yeah, look, talk it up, mate. Basically, at that stage, New South Wales was the best state for drifting, and we're going to take claim to that, and we're going to hold on to that.
Yes, hang on to it.
I'm trying to go, EG.
Sorry. So, just to pick your brain a bit about how you go about getting sponsorship, because I think that's one of the topics that came up in some of the discussions with some of the other guys, because you have written proposals and sort of made some, I think, deals with companies. How did you go about getting that sponsorship, and what sort of response did you get from companies? Like, was it a good response generally, or did you get knocked back 50% or 90% of the time?
So all the support that I've got from in my corners, it's sort of come from establishing relationships first. I didn't just rock up with a proposal and say let's talk sponsorship sort of thing, which is, I sort of like that personal connection. I've always struggled with approaching potential sponsors, and I'm not the best at talking to people as it is.
Yep.
So the support that I've got, all of it has come from, I've either been a paying customer or we've worked something out moving forward, which has been really cool. I like that. And I've got some awesome people in my corner, which is great. I have submitted a couple of proposals, and so far I had about 100% of no feedback. So that was a bit unfortunate. I think I've submitted 3 and I didn't hear back from any of them. So that was a little disappointing, but hey.
Okay.
Yeah, these things happen.
Yeah, it's something we've had, Ben and I have had many a conversation picking each other's brains about, what sort of deals you do and don't take, or you sort of look for, or how you actually gain some proper attention, and yeah, I don't think there's a magic bullet really, other than building relationships in Australia to really find that sort of that magical sort of sponsor that's going to help put you in a car or make big things happen. All you can do is get out there and keep hustling. And I don't know, when we all find the recipe, I'm sure we'll sort of share it within ourselves. But I don't know, it's a tough one, eh? Like, Ben showed me his sponsorship proposal. It's a really good sponsorship proposal, nice and professional. But again, with the stigma around the sport, you've got to sell yourself like, you have a platform to be able to sell. And currently, I think it's a bit of a push in the Australian drift scene to be able to do that. And building those relationships is more important than anything else. And then any extra help is a bonus, really.
So I think Bay Yates is really sort of starting to pave the way for the potential next generation of sponsorship in Australian drifting. You know, he's got outstanding factory support from Toyota, and for that kind of support, you know, the corporate world, they all talk to each other. You know, Toyota will talk to Nissan, mate. They could all go to the pub together, play golf together. Who knows? But the start of something like that is really going to help that negative stigma that you talk about, Greg. You know, like one bad story on Today Tonight could ruin a whole year's worth of good that we try and do for Australian drifting. So when we can start to swing that balance away from the negativity that can be brought upon us from the media, that's when potentially the sport could really grow. You look at how much support is available in D1NZ. You know, Blake was telling me about there's 2-car teams in Pro-Am that have a semi-trailer. No one in Australian drifting's even got a semi-trailer. So, you know, I'd love to be able to see us get to that level, but I think the groundwork that has to be done is absolutely enormous. But it's not outside the realms of possibility, but it's going to take years, not months.
What do you think that people need to do, or how do you think other people can actually support getting more sponsorship or more like a better sort of image to drifting? Like, what do you think they could do, or what would your ideas be if you could actually sort of move pieces around and make people do things?
So having a good image in the sport is a good help. You know, if I show up on Today Tonight doing a street skid or something, you know, that's unforgivable. That kind of damage definitely for one person would be borderline irreparable. So it's more about if you don't do the bad things, the good things should happen, if you know what I mean.
But it's funny you say that. You know, when I was sponsored last year and then with a company that was potentially looking at doing some stuff, I questioned, like, hey, would you, when the Team Kamikaze stuff came up or the Street Carnage stuff came up, I was like, you know, how would you feel about this sort of thing happening? And they're like, that'd be great. We'd be more than happy to have that down the side of the car, because they're going to get a whole bunch of people jumping on and seeing their brand. But then in the same sentence, there was a brand that, through another mate of mine, that a video went semi-viral and their logo was on a rear quarter window, and they were absolutely pissed off that video went viral of some illegal stuff going down. So you get it from both sides, where some of these brands are more than happy, and I'm not talking, you know, super large brands, but I'm not talking small brands, some oil companies and stuff like that, and they're more than happy as long as their brand is getting out there. They don't really mind how it's getting the attention. And I think some of that gets a little bit lost, because you've got guys picking up some sponsorship or getting a huge following for doing some really dumb stuff, but when it comes to us being at, but you know, for us trying to get.
So this is like negative things, but what sort of positive things do you think people could do?
Not do the negative things.
Oh, come on, you must have some ideas.
I don't think in Australia we share enough. I think we're so busy being. Anybody who puts themselves out there, for example, Ben, gets chopped down. Like, hey, pro drifter Ben, you're a wanker because you want to be a pro drifter. Like that's the attitude, as opposed to being like, hey, Ben's doing some cool shit. Like let's share his post. I think we're so busy taking that angle.
Say for example, in the pits at High Tech, there'll never be one single driver that will give you shit for having a go, ever. Yet there'll be 4 blokes on social media ready to stick the knife in you through the keyboard. And that can be really hard to swallow sometimes, you know, like even from when I started, you know, you're putting an LS in your Silver, you know, hate Central. You know, you just brush that off. You just brush that off and you get on with it, you know, like yet no one that's standing at the coalface with you working away or standing at the racetrack driving with you, they're never the ones dishing out that kind of stuff on you. There's only support there, which is really good. So that side of the sport, I feel, can grow quite well. The support between drivers is like you look at the DCA drivers and the camaraderie that you can have in a group chat is it's heartwarming, which is really good. Like Greg's saying, mate, imagine if you got the whole country on board. You'd be unstoppable.
Okay. So just sort of shift your attitude is what you can what you're sort of telling people.
Well, I think the whole community coming together, really, and sharing to the masses what the greatness that is the sport, really.
Look, you don't have to support and be friends with everyone, but there's no point in just degrading someone. Just you're not going to get along with everyone. Greg, you used to have competitors in ice dancing. You didn't like them. I used to race bikes with guys I didn't like, but you're on the start line with me, so there's respect there for you, and that goes a long way. And we all don't have to get along, but I think maybe a bit more respect might go a long way.
So, do you think it's bad that because I think I did do a live stream on my personal page, and people will probably see it because I think it's public as well. So, and I kind of gave people shit. Do you think that's a bad thing for me to do?
Look.
Something my old man told me.
Did you watch the video, Ben?
No, I didn't. I walked away. I knew it wasn't going to end well.
All right, go with your point, Ben.
Something my old man taught me. It's praised in public, criticised in private.
Yeah, I guess.
You heard that one before?
Yeah, and see, I think that point's fair depending on what you're trying to achieve as an outcome, where you weren't only throwing daggers, e.g. you were sort of, it was more of a, I'm going to point out how stupid some of this is in hope that the people will step it up. And it's because you give me crap in the same sort of way, like...
Yeah, I give you crap as well. Yeah, same sort of thing.
Yeah, but
it's probably just my delivery.
My point, like, yeah, but this is my point. Like, down at Wakefield, the Revo Day, I was stuck in a train between Paul, who's one of the Team Red Stage guys, and EG. And I've never entered turn one on short course in fourth gear before. I've done it a bunch at the top of third, bouncing off limiter, but never had the balls to grab fourth. And Paul's grabbed fourth in a car with half the horsepower of mine. Got EG riding my ass, grabbing fourth in a car that's got half the horsepower of mine. And here I am, just, my dick tucked between my legs, holding third. And yeah, I jumped out of the car and I just copped it from them. But it's in a way that it's like, I need to look at it and go, yeah, I need to step it up if I want to be better. Where I think the sort of negativity that we're talking is more, hey, don't go and do this, don't go and do that, don't go to that track because it's crap. You should only do this event because of X, Y, Z. And it's like, yeah, but we all have a common goal at the end of the day, and that's to get as many events on as possible and have the opportunity that, hey, you know what, my car's running, I want to go out and drive this weekend, and I want to be able to go and enjoy it, not, hey, like, oh, there's an event on in 3 months, let's hope I can have my car ready because we can only get, 4 days down at Wakefield in a year. Like, that's just lame, and that's kind of shit. I want to be able to drive when I want to be able to drive, and that's it becoming mainstream, really. Leave me hanging just fine.
Yeah, I kind of was expecting to hear more, actually. But anyway, yeah, so that's okay. I was being negative. Everyone can still see that. It's still posted. If you want to go have a look at it, you can. Just, I guess I was super blunt. I'm pretty sure I did say you were going too slow, but I actually came up and told you at the line that I heard it as well.
That's completely fine, mate. I respect your opinion and what you got to say, and I think anyone that you go up to in private and stick your head in the window and say, mate, go harder, they're going to respect you more for that than a public display of you grabbing the microphone and just calling out drivers left, right, and centre. Just as an example, like.
I think EG spent way too much time with Luke. Just straight up.
Just stab at Luke.
I have an opinion, and I'm just gonna fire that opinion out. Like, there's gonna be no filter on this statement, and I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, that's sort of a bit of the way.
I think it makes it more entertaining, but I can see it's bad, but that's all right. Anyway,
Poor EG's got like all freaked out about this episode. He's scared he's offended Ben. He's scared he's offended half the bloody high-tech
I won't
series.
see them anyway. No, there's high-tech series. One thing I see, the other thing I noticed is most of those high-tech guys I've never seen at a practice day at Wakefield. Well, I don't recall them at a practice day at Wakefield. And I've been to either
Are you talking the bigger drivers or the lower drivers?
Just most of them. I know there's a guy from Cairns, and I can understand, it's a 3-day drive to get down here. He was really cool. Interesting. I did speak to him about Greg, to him about him to Greg. But just most of those drivers in general, I don't really see in practice days, and that's why I would like to see those guys at a practice day, and I'd actually like to see some of the guys on practice days or club days or whatever you want to call them enter things like high tech. But I guess the cost is quite extreme compared to a practice day. It's almost 4 times the cost of a practice day.
Yeah, see, I don't necessarily agree with that too much on this last round. There was a lot of guys who since Wakefield reopened who are driving that series who have gone back down and done a bunch of driving there. Arbolino was out there in the 14 when we were down there. There was a couple of other guys who were doing Pro-Am.
Yeah, because I remember Arbolino.
But
collectively, as an example, EG, you'd like to see more of the drivers in the pro class doing practice.
Yeah, or just in any class. I think. Yeah,
for sure. I fully support that because that's how you get better. You got to train hard to play easy. I was struggling with figure 8 the end of 2016. I was just not getting it, and there was a practice night on down there. It was only a little one. There was only about 12 cars there, and I just stuck at it. Blake came down with me, and Dad was there, and it was flat out all night. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and I came away from that feeling a lot better, and then I competed at high tech the next week, and I qualified 5th. So you got to do that. I think
you did improve after some practice.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I threw hard. I think I finished that event I didn't have a front bar or a rear bar on the car. They were long gone, and that was before figure 8 had walls.
Oh,
but
those walls
that
for me
is
moved.
Yeah, one wall's being moved back.
That for me is what works as a driver. You got to train hard to play easy. That's how I used to train for bikes. Just flog myself, and then you come to race day, and you'd have to do 3 races to see me in a final, and you go home, you hadn't even broken a sweat. Obviously, drifting is a bit more expensive than push bikes were. It's not always that easy to go and train, but that's the psyche that I carry forward for practice and for game day for competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also, I guess, for the pro guys practicing thing as well. You go over to Japan and guys are out there in practice cars, and you end up with Daigo jumping on your door if you end up at Ebisu and different tracks like that. You end up with pro guys driving with you. So yeah, it can only be good, good for the greater good of the sport if those guys are out at a few more events, not necessarily in their pro cars burning absolutely huge lump sums of money, but they're getting out. And even if it's, I guess Yatesy stopped by on his way up from Winton for the Revo day, didn't drive, but sort of hung around for a little while. So I think there has been a slight changing of the culture in the last 12 months that I feel like I've seen. Like, more of these guys are sort of getting out to events and being around. Like, Yates came out for all Glenn's rounds of Super Drift and things like that. I've noticed more and more that these guys are sort of starting to come out.
I used to see Bo at practice days when Oran Park was around. So I don't think he chooses not to practice. It might be his like lifestyle. He can't sort of spend every weekend away. It's too far from Sydney, maybe. I'm not sure, but some people I've heard sort of say, why doesn't Bo come to practice days? But I have seen him at practice days in the past, but it's all been sort of Sydney based. I'm guessing he gets time in Sydney or wherever, like someone says do this event or do this demo, and so that's how he does his practice. Is my guess.
Yeah, I think he's driving. Yeah, like I think Yates is probably not a great example because he has been doing a lot of driving. He did the 86 Festival. He did the Toyota Nationals. He's done, he's had the high-tech events and a few other events and demos sort of going on. So probably not the best example, but, some of your other guys, like when I spoke to Brad Tui last year, he's like, man, I haven't done a practice day in 2.5 years. And he's like, I'm super keen to get out there and do some practice days, but just with building cars and cars sitting there with him, doing all his own mechanical work, just doesn't have time to have the practice car up and prepped because, the big car's expensive to get out and just burn through tires. So,
getting back to high tech, what sort of things did you, Ben? What sort of things did you like about high tech compared to some of the other competitions? Like, if you were able to get these elements and then put them into another comp, what would they be?
Some good drivers that drive there, which is great. There's been some good drivers in every competition I've ever driven with. They do get to go to some good tracks. I enjoy Wakefield. I enjoy Winton. It's good to go fast. I like going fast.
Things like like just to suggest like things like judging the way they run their briefings. Like I missed most of the briefing on Saturday. Their staffing, the way they staff, layout, like cones. Did you like the chicane style, or did you? Well, actually, you don't have to say if you did like it or like whatever, but it's up to you. But anything that you would take from that competition to another comp. I didn't like the chicane system. I thought it was dull. That particular.
Every competition's different, EG, and that's why I drive different competitions. That's why I don't just align myself with one. Their judging style and the way they judge, what they ask for, is completely different to the way you guys judge and what you ask for a DCA. And that's why I do it, because I don't believe I'm going to improve as a driver if I just drive high tech or just drive DCA. I need to diversify.
Yeah.
And that's that. Because the first time I drove DCA, I drove the first one at Raleigh, and then they had one at Calder Park that year, and I got smashed. I didn't even qualify. I drove horrendous. But
it's because Age is a dick.
No, he's not. I wasn't good enough because I wasn't giving the judges what they wanted. So I had the whole next year off, and then I came back again and had another crack at it last year. And, I qualified in Gambia, I qualified in Calder, and then I qualified again in Calder this year. So
I think you're being pretty diplomatic there, Ben.
Yeah, I am. Of course I'm being diplomatic. I'm not going to throw it at the bar.
No, okay. Well, okay. What about some positive things? So, like, if you like the chicane system, just say like that. But like, just something. If you were like, is there two things that you would like to see
on a dead straight run up like that? I reckon a chicane is probably should always be there. It just levels it out that little bit. I know, like, we've got DCA that has, the no drag racing, the gentleman rule. That doesn't always translate to other competitions, and that's fine. There's some cars you got a 300 or 400 horsepower difference. Just put the chicane in. We all end up at the same place. We all end up at the first corner together.
I should probably explain a bit more. It's more that I didn't like the chicane. Was it pushed the lead car to the inside of the course rather than push him out?
Yeah.
Why was that? Why was the lead car on the inside of the track?
So the statement I can sort of make around that is every competition I've been to that starts the lead car on the inside, Every single person that's ever drifted or competed in Japan puts their hand up and says, "No, let's put the lead car on the outside, chase car on the inside." Every person that's never been to Japan or never competed there goes, "No, let's leave the lead car on the inside." I'd love it I think the lead car should always be on the outside, always, no matter what track you go to, always be on the outside of the corner. But that's just me, and I think you'd probably agree with me on that one, wouldn't you, EG?
Yeah, I would. I thought. Well, yeah, I already said
Yeah.
that. But yeah, no, it's more like I was just more if getting the positive things out of it. So it's not sort of complaining or saying it's negative, but just something positive about that comp that you liked. I did hear someone say before that race suits are mandatory or something like that. But I'm not sure.
Look,
I can't even really remember. But yeah, just sort of some element that you would like to see from that competition, another one.
just the package that's high tech. I've always enjoyed. I've been going there since they started. So
Okay.
as a general comment, look, I can't think of anything
All right,
individually
about
that I can think.
What I guess for you it was a last minute decision to actually compete in the round. Like funds and all that sort of stuff weren't really in your favour to make the event happen. But what was the major draw card for you to go?
Just that I generally want to see Australian drifting still be here, and if we lost another you've seen competitions come and go. EG's probably seen the most out of all of them, and I still like to support as the competition. I've been driving it for a while. I generally want to see competition in Australia succeed. So that was why I went to continue to support them.
And do you feel like they are doing more or the same or less than other series are in the way of promoting their series drivers, and you know what I mean?
You look at the high tech, and they've got the biggest and the best TV package in Australia. No one's got anywhere close to that. So the promotional aspects that are available for that are quite large, which is that's I guess their input. That's their way of trying to help Australian drifting. Is there's guys in that series that have pulled reasonable sponsorship opportunities from the promotion that they've got from the TV, and hey, that's great. Is that not the end goal or part of the end goal?
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah. I think that for me, that's I guess would be one of the big attractions. I had contemplated doing their Pro-Am series just because the wear and tear from semi-slicks for me is not something I'm willing to keep burning a big amount of cash on. But for me, until there's I guess I shouldn't say it the way I'm going to say it, but until there's a stronger standard of drivers in the series that are going to compete in the Pro Street, what was based around the Pro Street in D1NZ series. I feel like I can go and compete on a tire restricted series in DCA and get a whole bunch more experience and become a better driver. But ideally, I would like the coverage that comes with a high tech.
Absolutely, mate.
And yeah, as I said, wear and tear is what is keeping me away from doing 265 semis because shit gets really expensive on cars at that point.
Yeah, it does.
So just to get a little bit change the topic a bit, you're in your garage, aren't you, or your shed, or
correct?
Big, massive complex. I've visited there, and it's freaking cool. You're on your phone, so is that fixed in position, or can you pick it up and move it, or is it?
Yeah, all I got to do is take it out of its little cradle.
Okay.
And there we go.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be a unique opportunity to show your car off, or just explain a bit about your car.
Can I turn this camera in? Is that possible or not?
You can, but we've got quite a narrow.
I have no idea.
I think if you
Engine Bay.
So yeah, tell us a bit
There's-
about it.
uh,
Just
And there's
Probably
the fancy
black.
filter.
Anything that
There you
you've
go,
noticed?
large. Children eating filter.
Is there anything special that you've done to the car that unique or that you like or you found out building that car?
There you go, gay green wheels.
Okay, green wheels.
So fun fact, it was Sean Gilbert that advised me to make them green.
So if Luke's listening, you got to find Sean Gilbert and kick him in the vag.
I actually had black wheels on it, but I changed my mind.
Oh,
Gilbert persuaded me that I needed it to.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Hang on, I'll turn the light. I'll turn the lights on for you. Hang on.
Because I don't like black wheels. Fancy.
There you go. I've got interior lights. Dash.
If anybody's seen Ben's car in person and not taken a really close look at it, it's one of the cars that, from a budget build point of view, not super budget, but a more budget build than a Yates or a Tui's car, that is worth having a look at, because there's just some little, trick bits and pieces on that car that sort of you look at and you're like, shit, why didn't I think of that? Like things as simple as the LED lights all through the car, so that when he is changing wheels in the dark, you can actually see it. There are definitely some cool little add-ons to that car, and just how sort of smart and just clever some of the little bits and pieces in there are. And I can almost guarantee that a lot of those ideas have come from his dad, who multiple times has helped save my ass at the track and get my car back up and running.
So a lot of the idea for building the car, at the time, Brad too was running his LS13. Mick Rosenblatt was running the V8 Skyline. Levi Clark was running an NA LS in his S15. These guys at the time, they're only running about about 4 to 500 horsepower. That's sort of what I based it around, EG. Like, I saw the package that these guys are bringing, and it was working really well. They're finishing events. Mick Rosenblatt won Stadium Drift. Brad Tui did really well on Peanut. So that's sort of where I started with the platform and based it around that. Levi was using Driftworks, so I bought Driftworks. Just stuff like that, like that's where it all started. By the time that I finished the car, but Brad had his twin-charged 8.6, Rosenblatt had nitrous, and Levi had a turbo, so I was then really slow all of a sudden. But hey, that's okay.
But I guess, to me, the only place that your car really loses out is a little bit off the start down the straight. And if I guess there was a more significant chicane on the start of that course at Wakefield, plus the car being on the lead car being against the wall, and the chase car not having to back off to swap sides of the track on the way down to the first corner, you would probably actually be able to keep up not so bad if you sort of jump the start on the lead car. And then Wakefield didn't lend itself to being super close in that last section, because there's that big straightish power skid section that, a big powerful car that can select 3 gears in a split second is going to pull away from anybody who's actually got to select gears, in the old school fashion and without big wheel speed and big power to push it around that last section. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to see I think it would be interesting to see. I'm guessing you're going down to round 2 at Winton. It'll be interesting to see. Are you going to go down there?
No. I land from Europe on the day of, I think the Friday I get back, which is the day there's practice. So I probably won't make round 2, which is a bit unfortunate, but that's okay. So we'll try again for round 3.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see your car at a track more, I guess, like Winton, where there's potential for a better run up and a more natural, because your car wasn't a slouch at World Time Attack,
No, like I really, yeah, it was like, mate, you got to go faster. Your Daigo's going to go flat out. EG's like dive bomb everything, like get into this guy, and it's pretty unreal when you take off from the and you just go flying past the lead car because he's in the chicane and you just 1, 2, 3, 4 flat out, and you wait and wait and wait, and then this guy just comes hurtling past you. And you throw into the corner behind him, and yeah, that's something different. It's really unnatural. You think I should be behind this guy. Why is he overtaking me? And then we're thrown sideways. So that's something I probably need to practice as well. As get a faster car and a chicane and practice that entry because it's quite different to what I'm used to.
Yeah, it's funny that it does look like, for a lot of people, you do need the big horsepower. The big horsepower really does seem to more come in people's favour when it comes to mistakes, really, that they can bag them back up and get out of there. You've got the torque and reliability of a V8, but you're only just over, what'd you say, 500 horsepower. So you're only at the high 300 kilowatt range, where these guys are well and truly up in past the 600, 700, 800 horsepower range that you're competing against at High Tech and World Time Attack Challenge.
And you said it yourself. You saw the end of the judge section at Wakefield, like that uphill and the flick to the right. Mate, power there. You can just pick another gear and it's like, yeah, see you bye. It's so hard to try and keep up and hold a judge line when you've got guys who've got 300 horsepower on you.
So was that in driver's briefing with that section?
Yes.
Was that last section going to be heavily weighted, or by that stage the judges had pretty much were going to have made up their mind and it could just sort of make or break a run as opposed to, determining a run?
It was that last section up the hill was talked about quite a lot in driver's brief and what they wanted to see, but we didn't really have a discussion around weighting of points, which, that probably would have been cool to see. I know, like DCA at Calder, like I remember the first 2 clips were like 80 out of 100 and the other 3 were like, what, out of 20. Definitely a track like Wakefield, the impact zone is that first corner. If you're trying to win a battle at the last corner, you didn't do a good job on the first 2. So that's how I like to see.
I think it's something you probably need to, if you're going to continue in the series, it's something you probably need to question as a driver. Is, different championships around the world have now started, being more transparent about the weighting of sections. I think even FD now is being more transparent about where they're putting more emphasis, slowdowns, acceleration zones, all that sort of stuff. And if it is going to go back to a track like that on a layout where a car like yours is really well suited for the whole first part, and then the last, I guess, what would you even say, the last maybe 15%, but maybe 15% of the track is not in your favor. But if that can totally make or break your run, then it's almost not pointless you being there, but you're only going to ever make it so deep into the competition, because at some point, as long as the other guys drive clean, you're going to get driven away from. But that's not necessarily right.
Yeah, for sure, mate. But that's the judge's discretion what they want. If they want to put a heavy weighty on that corner, then that's the nature of that competition.
Yeah, but as I said, at that stage you have no idea where the weight is, so you can always try and play it into your favor with, if you sacrifice, say, in the zone just before it and straighten up a little bit, so you can be on door for that last section. Or I think you just need to sort of be a little bit. I think down at DCA we sometimes get a little bit spoon-fed, because the judges are pretty heavy on what they want to see and giving us lots of info. And
I think I'm not
in some of these other
specific
series,
enough,
you don't get so much.
I think I need to be more specific. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
It comes back to what I said before about different competitions and different judges. That's just, the nature of the game. Everyone communicates it differently what a different judge wants. And that's what can make a good drive, the way you adapt to different judging requirements and a different course layout.
But to adapt, you've got to understand it. And if you're not necessarily getting the information, then you can't understand something you don't know.
Of
So I
course,
think that's
and that change that gets better, at every event, from competitions to start to, from when EG started judging and what he can communicate to now, like his communication is exceptional. It's not going to get any worse, is it? It's only going to get better. And he just touched on it then, which is great for a driver because you can really hone in on what the judges want and really work hard on giving them what they want, which then makes for a better competition.
Yeah, sorry, just trying to look at the chat. Yeah, I guess I'm probably, even listening to some of that, it's something I will probably, even down in Tassie, probably quiz the judges a little bit more on a few things that they'll want to see down there, and then I'll be told, how about you learn to drive the course first before you get too nitty picky about things that go on. EG laughs because he knows exactly that I'm going to struggle.
I think for an idea for driver's brief, which it could work, is you take your GoPro with you and just record the whole thing. Then you can go back and replay, what did the judges want in turn 2? Replay. You can watch it and you don't have to try and recall what they said yesterday or an hour ago. And, that can really help with clarity. And if you need to get clarity, then you can ask for clarity and then you can record it so you can go back and listen to it.
Well, I did that at the last round of Super Drift. I recorded all of driver's briefing and I wasn't driving, and it was just funny to then I wasn't judging, but I was video replaying for Steve and EG, and it was funny to hear some drivers come up and be like, I didn't understand that's what that I wasn't allowed to drive through that bit of the concrete and blah 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 whatever, and then went back and watched the whole driver's briefing. And those guys were standing directly in front of the judges as they said it and made comment on it. And you sort of like, like when you are listening to this information, it is something that you've actually got to take in and understand, as opposed to just, oh yeah, cool, and then shutting down. But again, for us, I think it comes back to a background in sport where you've had to understand your rules before you go out and play. Where some of these guys are just coming in and on a whim and a prayer, hoping to be the next big thing.
Maybe we should go through some of the fan questions that we received recently.
Well, I think
there's fans. Oh dear.
I think we got through a few of the fan questions already. Long-time listener, first-time caller Luke Fink wanted to know, drifting being your profession, how much money do you take home per month, roughly? I'm guessing this number's in the negatives. So,
yeah, mate. I work 60 hours a week in a steel mill to be able to afford a drift. That's my profession, mate. Molly Cop pay me once a fortnight, and that's where I'll be staying because my fitting abilities far outweigh my drifting abilities.
And then you answered the question on who told you that purple and green looks good together. He needs to know so he can kick them in the balls or the vag.
Well, we've answered that one. Sorry, Gilbert.
But I guess I actually liked your car when it still had the Xbox X's all over it because it tied into the wheels. Why did they disappear?
I got new stickers for the rear quarters, so I thought it was time for them to come off. Now it just looks like a neat street car with stickers plastered all over it, and I think it's hopefully if I get picked up for Time Attack again, I'd like to rewrap the car, and I really need to put a bit more emphasis on. I need to make it look like a race car, not a street car, which I think it still looks a little street car. I know purple and fluoro green isn't the best colour for the street, but you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really look very race car-ish right now.
Yeah, I think even if you had your Xbox X's back on, I think it just tied in nicely with it, where now it's, I think, a little bit plain Jane, and that's why people are probably, like Luca, throwing some hate. Man, he gives my car shit, and it was, all it had was, it was white on white with a livery on it, and I still copped it, so yeah, don't feel too bad on that one.
That's okay. Look, there's always room to be better.
What else did he say? Being a professional type drifter, we haven't seen you on the top step of the podium yet. Maybe it's time to step up your game.
And I'm always trying to step up my game. Always. Now, what is it? The day you stop trying to improve is the day you stop improving.
What else have we got? Mitch Sanders said the real Mitch Sanders from Victoria.
The real Mitch Sanders.
The real Mitch Sanders. How much did you pay Daigo?
No. How much did Daigo pay you?
Oh, how much did Daigo? Yeah, how much did Daigo pay you to lose in that rerun?
I remember coming into the pits after the rerun. You know, they've given Daigo the nod, and I had a chat with Luke and T and Mitch and the DCA team. They're like, mate, I think you're a bit unlucky there. I'm like, really? So yeah, apparently it was a bit closer than we thought, which is pretty cool. But that's all right. That's the way it fell.
Should have asked him for a drive in the, what is it, the 50-50 JZX?
Oh, the mid-mount one, yeah. I was at Ebisu the first day that he drove that. Mate, that car's a work of art.
Yeah, Jesus, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty much outlawed everywhere except for maybe King of Nations.
Yeah, I remember Rock walking over to the car and Daigo sitting in the back of the car, like his head is behind the B pillar. I'm like, yeah, this guy's pretty serious.
How do you reckon that would feel from a car moving around point of view, being so far back in a long chassis like that? It's got to feel weird, right?
I don't know. Like if you've ever seen videos of Nigel Petrie from Engineer to Slide, he sits a long way back as well. Yeah, I think it'd be quite different. I'm not a tall guy. Like I like to sit like I'm driving a bus. You know, I sit upright. But you know, some guys like sitting on the floor and in the back of the car. So never really gravitated towards that style. But hey, whatever works gets the job done.
We answered Mitch's questions on why your intake doesn't fit inside your car. What happens when it rains with the intake? I don't think anything really happens when it rains with the intake, right?
Just swallows a little bit of water, mate. No biggie.
No worse than running E85 in a car, I guess.
No.
And then Stephen Mogg has asked, when are you coming to Queensland?
I am coming to Queensland for DCA round 3 and hopefully Cash Kings.
Yeah, cool.
Why do you say hopefully Cash Kings?
Well, they're a week apart. If I can get time off work, if the car's in one piece, etc.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that there is a QR morning session on the Thursday morning between the two events. So
yes, I'm going to need a semi-trailer of tyres.
Oh, we can organise tyres up there. I got plenty of friends in Queensland now, so we can get your tyres up there.
Last time I went to QR, I did 2 laps to a set of tyres. So yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but you got to come and do turn 1. See, morning sessions is the only time you can do turn 1.
Have I got to use that 5th gear? Is that one? I've never used that one before. It'll be a bit different.
If you didn't use 5th for Eastern Creek North, then I wouldn't say you'd need it for turn 1 at QR. But you'd be baking 4th for a long time.
It's okay. I got an accumulator.
All right, we're getting a few questions coming through. If you have more questions, just start pumping them through the group chat. They're not actually too bad. When are you going to upgrade to a multicam motor?
When I win the lottery. Actually, fun fact. So if we just look over here, we've got another S14 in the shed at the moment. This has actually got a multicam engine in it. This is my mate's 1J S14 that I'm doing some work on for him. And it has one of them multicam engines. It's quite nice.
Is that Will's car?
That is William's car, yes.
Okay. What's the next one? This is from Jake from Team Red Stage. I think he's one of your.
This is gonna hurt.
He's one of your biggest fans. No, it's actually not that bad.
No, he wants me to do work on his car, so he'll be nice.
Yeah, when are you going when are you going Super Pro and going dry sump and boosted?
Dry sump, hopefully in August. Boost,
Oh,
no
really?
boost. Yeah, I got to take the engine out in August to give it a birthday because it's 2 years and it's due for rings and bearings. So yeah, I want to make a couple of changes then. Give it a little bit more fast, not heaps, but I'm probably going to put a dry sump on.
What's the reason for going for a dry sump? You've never had oil pickup issues before, have you?
I have, which is why I got the accumulator, but I want to rev it a little bit harder to 8,000 revs. My advice from my engine builders is that the oil pump's only good for 7,000. So after that, things start breaking. So I'm going to dry sump it.
Yeah, the dry sump thing scared me a little bit after Aaron losing the belt and losing a motor down at High Tech. So it's a bit of a catch-22, eh? Like something mechanical like that can fail, like the belt, and you lose a motor.
Yep.
But then again, if you're getting starvation on pickup, then you're gonna lose a motor anyway. So
I had oil starve issues when I was at QR last. So since then we put the accumulator on. I haven't had a problem since, which has been awesome.
Mitch Sanders said
Yeah.
dry sump will allow him to lower the engine so it fits under the bonnet.
Just for you, Mitch. I'll machine my engine mounts and get that under the bonnet.
No, what I want you to do, if that's what happens, I want you to make a bonnet that is the filter. The whole bonnet is just the filter. Just suck air in the whole way.
Is that like that massive thing Chris Forsberg had hanging out of his bonnet when it was V8?
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, why not?
That thing had its own postcode.
Just a quick question as well. Have you ever let anyone else drive your car and give an opinion to you?
Sean has had a quick steer of it, but that was a while ago. I don't think I even had the rear sway bar in it then, so not really. Sean has had a driver, but other than that, I do need to let some other people that have some idea about drifting have a steer of it so I can sort of see if I'm heading the right direction. So, I think I'm going all right, but whether it really is, I'm definitely keen for another feedback on that.
Okay.
Are you going to take it for a test drive, EG?
Not when it's looking pretty anyway.
Yeah, I'll take the bars off and there'll be no walls.
Okay. No, I just thought it was interesting to hear if you'd actually received feedback from other people, like they've jumped in and said, "Hey, you should try this out." Like one thing I hate about Steve Pembrey's car is I hate his seating position and everything related to it. So his pedals, you have to drive with your feet above the pedals a little bit. The gear shifter is bent, so it's not bent enough. So you punch the center console. I do. He says he doesn't. So I have to be careful with that. There's all these sort of small things that otherwise the car was fine, but that's the sort of feedback I gave to him.
So, Shane generally comes to most of the Sydney-based rounds with me for competition and for practice as well. And, I remember I was doing a high tech and went out for practice and was just throwing the car around. And I've come in and he's, the bonnet goes up and he makes a suspension change and he goes, right, now go out again. I go out and the car just feels 1,000 times better. So his feedback from outside the car, what he can see the car doing and how he can relate that to a suspension change or a setting change is pretty awesome.
Okay.
But as for like a driver setup or a driver feel, no, I haven't had anyone do it from inside the car, but I have had quite good feedback from outside the car, which has been awesome. Like I can only see this in the car. That's it. The way the car switches and it handles, Shane can pick that up from outside the car really well.
I don't know if you've heard of him, Blake and Patterson from Marvel Drifters, has put his hand up to drive your car, but I let him drive mine once. And it almost got plowed by a Falcon on the figure 8.
Blake doesn't even ask me if he can drive my car. He just tells the guy borrowing it, "Oh yeah, I gave him permission," or "You got permission from me," and just takes the car.
And that he did pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say he did pretty fucking good in that one.
Yeah, he did. Blake's a very, very good driver.
Which reminds me
Um,
also, okay, I'm not going to say the word, but
Yes, you
Ben, how do you say thank you in Japanese? I'm going to ask you the same question.
Don't. No. Oh, I sound like an Italian mobster. Arigato gozaimasu. It's terrible, I know. I say it
what
like
about
this.
And what about you,
all
Greg?
right, so on to the next question.
Oh, I don't know. How do you say thank you in Japanese, Greg?
Oh, sanku.
Stop
Okay,
it.
question.
If you had a theme song that played during your 2 qualifying runs, what would it be?
Oh, Amity Affliction, The Way Down.
Oh, that's a good one.
Don't remember. Over my head.
I have no idea because I'm awful with names of songs. So
Back in the day for BMX, when you could do, there was time trials and you got 1 lap or 2 laps, so you got to go flat out, and you had to track yourself. You got to choose your own song. It was pretty cool.
Very nice.
I would go with It's Raining Men, because you come from figure skating, shit can't get any more gay really. So
At least you're comfortable, Greg. At least you're comfortable.
it's only gay if you push back, mate. Somebody said you should have bought a Honda. That, of course, that's Connor.
Mate, Honda make great lawnmowers. I'd add a Honda tomorrow.
Moggy said that SR20s fit really well in S14s. Daniel Ripstick wants to see under the bonnet of the J14.
Well, I can do one sort of better. So I've got an S13 street car that I'm doing. That's it there, still under construction. It's got an SR20. Fits really well. See? Look at that fitment. Look at that. It's not going yet. It's work in progress.
It looks currently NA, mate.
Yeah, look, it's got turbo. It just doesn't have pipes yet. It's all right. It's under control.
Somebody's asking if you're driving Drift Masters.
No, I will be in Europe, unfortunately. Which is unfortunate because I'm really, really stoked on what Rob's doing. There you go. Look at that goodness.
Wow, you are copying it for the bonnet thing.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, if you have any actual genuine questions, I think we've put enough shit on this poor guy tonight. Daniel asked if it's got Wise Fab, but none of the cars in that workshop have Wise Fab.
No, mate, this has got Ben Fab.
Yeah, Ben's too busy cutting stuff up and welding stuff together to pay for that sort of stuff.
I make my own stuff.
Am I driving Drift Masters? No, I put in to try and do Pro-Am in Drift Masters, and I did not get an email back. But it's only like 2 weeks after Tassie, so it's probably way better for my pocket that I'm not doing it, even though I would have liked to go up and see my Queensland fam. What else are we getting from people? No, that's it at this stage.
Yeah.
So plan moving forward for the rest of the year. You're doing. You said you're doing Archie. You're not coming to Tassie because it's like 2 days before you leave for.
So I'll do an Archie. I'd love to get down to Winton for another high tech round. Winton's heaps of fun. And yeah, I'll just sort of see how the bank account looks and we'll go from there. Seems to be a little bit quieter than last year. Last year was a bit busier. There was DCA, there was high tech. I think I did a rally round somewhere in there as well. So a little bit less this year as well, but that's okay. I'll still get as many events as I can. Have
you put in to try and do the Sunday Revo Day?
No, so I finish work at 7 a.m. on the Sunday morning, and you've seen how well I drive when I've just come off night shift. I should not drive.
There'll be a red 32 there you can run into the side of to slow the car down.
Oh, yeah. Fun, interesting statistic I saw today. It was something like once you're up to 20 hours with no sleep, it's like you're intoxicated.
Yeah, and I think you've done a few of those before, haven't you, Ben?
Yeah, well, that was Friday at Wakefield. Finish work, go straight to Wakefield, and suck down some Red Bull and go do some laps. It was great.
One of the guys just asked if we're going to bring the bash. No, Ben will be a couple of days out from going to Europe, and me and EG will be down at DCA Tassie that weekend. And
Really
that's only 3 weeks away.
Really cool what the Curse Sunday guys are doing. You know, like they put on a good show at Bring the Bash 2 at Wollongong. I didn't make that. That was a super drift day. I think I came to that. Not exactly sure what's gone on down there with the politics with the council, but they've jumped on and managed to find support from a Port Macquarie track and getting to drive there. And, you know, hey, I take my hat off to them. They've done really well, and I hope Bring the Bash 3 is an awesome event for everyone that makes it, and hope there's more of them.
Yeah, I know that speaking to some of the guys on the weekend, they've now got a few demos going on the Sunday during some go-karting and super motar or something like that. So, look, that can only be positive for the scene. Mitch is asking, how big's the shed?
450 square metres, 30 metres by 15 metres, I think. Something like that.
3 times the size of my house.
And it was purely built for Ben's race car addiction, wasn't it, Ben?
Yes, sure. You're funny.
For anybody who doesn't know, Ben's dad ran a...
And down underneath this little plate here, that's the pit that goes underneath the car. So when I want to go underneath, I just move that out the way and just walk downstairs.
Run out of reception.
And we're underneath my car. It's awesome.
And you think you're not a pro drifter?
What are you talking about?
Well, for anybody who doesn't know, Ben's dad ran a fairly successful business up in Newcastle, and that was where he was working out of. So that's why Ben has access to this facility. So it's not pure. It's not purely wank, so. And if he does any shed skids in there, you'll be the first to see on the news that his dad has murdered him.
That is correct.
I think if Ben owned the place, then everybody would be up there every weekend doing shed skids. So. I think at that stage, this is all the questions. I guess, at this stage we're a couple of hours in, so it's probably time to start turning it down anyway. But look, Ben and I met at drift school. We had a pretty good connection because of the background in sport, and it's been interesting to sort of follow his journey a little bit over the last few years. And definitely my biggest thing that I've seen from you in the time that I've known you is a huge change in attitude towards how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve or becoming a better driver. To begin with, I think it was a little bit more reactive, and now it's a whole lot more proactive in, okay, now I understand why this is happening. I know that, this is why they're giving me that, and that feedback is being better received. And like the driving is coming forward in leaps and bounds. And that's what I've really noticed, especially in the last, I think since just before World Time Attack, that's been the biggest change that I've seen in you, and just the way you've been able to handle pressure and be able to give the judges what they want to see. So I think that's cool. And the fact that you're not just sitting on safe runs, you're doing things like you did on on Saturday with, hey, EG told me to go harder. It's my second qualifying run. Who cares? Like, it's a second qualifying run. Why not just go send it? Where I think Ben 12 months ago might have just, no, I'm just going to bank 2 safe ones. Well, what's the point in banking 2 safe ones? So it's cool to see that progression, and I'm sure with that drive it'll only continue to move forward.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
So, yeah, I think at this stage, I don't think we have anybody locked in for next week, do we, EG?
No, no
so
one locked in. We had ideas, but yeah, no one locked in at the moment.
Yeah, we're gonna. So if you a follower or know somebody who's interested in getting on, please get in contact with us. We're more than happy to have some people. We are going to get Luke Fink on at some stage. Yes, Jai, if you want to come on. I've asked you before if you want to come on, and when I put it on you, you don't want to come on. So
he's one guy I'd like to see compete again soon. Is Jai.
Well, it's funny you say that. I, on Saturday night, took the car out to Figure 8 to try and shake it down and see what the hell was wrong with this piece of shit. And Jai showed up, and Grant Davies showed up. And I was like, oh, here we go. 2 of the most underrated drivers that nobody sort of knows in the country. And they did one tandem run together where Grant jumped on the door of Jai, and it was pretty cool to see. Why Jai didn't go in for the chase, I'm not sure. But Jai took me for the thrill ride of my life, and I appreciate him taking me for the real 137, taking me for a ride. So that sounds really gay with the whole "it's raining men" thing too. This has been a bit
you
of a
walked into
that. So yeah, we will probably. I'm not sure what our plan for Tassie is. I've been able to move my boat trip back a day, so I'll be home on the Wednesday night now, thank God, so I don't have a dead day down in Tassie. But we'll probably try and do some live stuff down in Tassie.
Before you completely wrap it up, is there anything you want to cover that you didn't get to cover coming on? Ben, question to you.
No, I really enjoyed it. Oh, really? Sorry, mate. No, I really enjoyed it, mate. It's I got a lot of time for both of you, and I love the way what you've done with Clutch Kick and moving forward. It's really good, and it felt good to be able to have a powwow with you about some things. I'm not scared to answer the tough questions. My ego doesn't supersede anything. So no, it was really good. I enjoyed it, and I hope everyone that has watched or was watching enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed myself.
So you have social media thing going on? Just is it Facebook, Instagram?
So yeah, Instagram and the Facebook athlete page is BenMeir58. So a lot of cars on there. I'm going on holidays. I'll be a bit of holidays on there. I don't post flat out, but I try to keep it interesting both at the racetrack and what I'm up to at home in the shed, because I'm pretty firm believer that if you do the hard work at home, the racetrack will take care of itself.
What about YouTube or what's Twitch or anything? Do any of that stuff?
No, mate, I haven't really graduated to YouTube yet. Like, I struggled to turn on a GoPro. Greg's been telling me I need to use more GoPro since the day I've known him. So we'll work on that, all right? We're building.
Okay.
Any events that you're with us, we'll try and get some more stuff for you. But yeah, I think we'll definitely been somebody that we will be running into more and more. I think you've sort of pop up in everybody's. Yeah.
Unless a situation arises, I don't see myself doing that to your beautiful car.
I know you better than that.
No, it's unique. I really don't want to damage a unique car.
That's okay. Robin's racing, mate.
More than willing to hit mine, but not hit yours. I feel it.
I still say that you hit me.
Yeah, I did. I know I did. I'm just stirring back.
Up until that wall hit that I had in Mount Gambier with Logan, the worst crash that I'd ever had in Australian drifting, I actually got lost in smoke doing a burnout on the burnout pad at Sydney Dragway and buried it into the wall and bent the shit out of it. So, you know, like racetrack incidents with other cars, mate, it's all part of the game. You know, if you're not doing stuff like that, are you really trying hard enough?
Well, and that damage with the accident with Logan was fixed the day after, or the day you got back from Mount Gambier.
Yeah,
demos or something the following weekend.
I was off all week. You know, Dad was around, so it pretty much rolled off the trailer. We did an overnighter back from Gambier. It rolled off the trailer Monday lunchtime, and we were into it. So yeah it's okay. Motivation comes and goes, but it's still pretty motivated at the moment to rip in.
Just about Ben's dad, because I don't know if Greg knows, but Ben's dad works. It looks like he's working 24/7, and he's probably the most hard-working retired person that I know.
Yeah, I can hope he is.
Feels weird to say it together. So look, mate, if I could be half of the worker that my old man is, I'd be pretty happy. Yeah, he's an animal.
Crazy. Yeah, he is like a machine. He's crazy, and he's got he's a little bit tired on his leg or something, I think, and he's still like going crazy.
He's got a bung shoulder. He just uses a rattle gun with the other hand. It doesn't worry him.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really cool. You're lucky. Yeah, you're lucky to have him. I think he's really good.
Mate, trust me, I truly am blessed. You know, like between the shed that the old man's built and the help that he gives me, let's be realistic. I wouldn't be anywhere near that I am today without that help.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well.
So. I don't know if... Yeah, this weekend, keep an eye on D1NZ. Keep an eye on FD. Keep an eye on whatever updates come from Rally. And Ben's dad on Clutch Kick next week. I
don't know if you're ready for that level of truth.
Yeah, I think Ben's dad would give us all a bit of a bloody talking to about actually some work ethic.
Doing some work
ethic in life. I think the Australian Drift scene would probably all wrap up and be like, yeah, we probably need to get on with life at this stage. But yeah, follow all the drift stuff. If the drift bit is something that interests you, jump onto that Kickstarter and guys have a look at that. Michael has put together a great product. And if you haven't watched last week's episode, take a look at that. I think that probably was one of our best episodes, and we had a lot of positive feedback from that one. So go and take a look at that one. And yeah, I think that sort of does it for tonight. So thank you, Ben, for coming on. I know you're a little bit unsure about coming on, but we got you on, and the more public speaking you do, the more you're going to enjoy it.
I appreciate it, boys. Thank you. And if you ever want to have me back, I'd be glad to come back and have a chat with you again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. It was good to have you on.
All right, so thank you, guys. We'll catch you next week. Again, if anybody wants to come on and voice their opinions on stuff, just hit us up, and more than happy to entertain the idea of having you on. But yeah, we'll catch you guys Wednesday night next week.
Okay. Cool. All right.
See you
guys. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
All right. I'll just hang on. I'll just let me figure out this live stream stuff. Okay, so we mute it.